what's up, YouTube? I'm back. This is your boy Alex, and I promised you another NBA basketball video. Today's video is going to be the Chicago Bulls versus the Toronto Raptors. Michael Jordan, woo! The greatest basketball player of all times. Michael Jordan versus Vince Carter, half man, half amazing. Woo! Yeah, today's Friday. Now, the reason why I'm making this video is because I promised you that I would make another video about Michael Jordan and his great NBA basketball career. Now, in that first video, it was short. I admit it was a bit, at the end was a bit rushed. And I wanted to make another video to apologize to my YouTube audience. Why did I have to end the video so fast, so quick, on short notice, when it was, I probably could have added 5 more minutes to that video. Because my uncle was doing Ubering, and he has this habit that he likes to come back to the house earlier and earlier. And I don't like that because I have to cut the video short. And when I upload the video onto YouTube, people look at the video and go, man, this video was rushed. It seemed like he didn't have no time to prepare and things of that nature. Well, guess what? In future YouTube videos, that's not going to be a problem no more, because what I'm going to start doing, it's going to be a pain in the ass, but what I'm going to start doing is start filming my YouTube videos at 2 different familiar locations. The first one is going to be at Los Angeles City College. So the days I don't go to the gym and I don't go to work, I'll film at LA City College. Then the next minute, you'll see me film at UCLA College. As long as I go to a school where I'm protected to film, I can't get arrested by the police. Now, unless the UCLA College say, okay, you actually gotta be a college student here, or you gotta at least take one class or something, then it's okay. That way, you won't see me film in the house as much. So a lot of the future YouTube videos that I want to do, they're going to be filmed at those locations. So that way, when he decides he want to come back to the house earlier and earlier while Ubering, you won't be getting no more interruptions with house phone calls, cars driving up and down the street. And you'd be like, damn, Alex, why I hear that in the background? Dog barking. Damn, Alex, why I hear the dog barking in the background? Now, you still might hear cars driving back and forth in those locations of Los Angeles City College and UCLA, but it'd be much better. And we'll be putting my cell phone on a tripod. That way, I won't be holding it with my hand as much, and you can get a better picture and a better description of where I'm at versus a house setting. So there are going to be a lot of changes coming in the later part of 2018, and even when we get to 2019, there'll be further more changes, but there'll be good changes. Now let's get with the video presentation, shall we? Now, we left off last time that he beat Charles Barkley and the Phoenix Suns for his 3rd NBA championship. Now, after Michael won 3 championships 3 years in a row, 1991, 1992 and 1993, and all those championships, Michael Jordan was NBA Finals MVP. He was the NBA MVP, and he had won 3 championships 3 years in a row, and he did his first three-peat, undefeated in the NBA Finals successfully. Finally, Michael Jordan had a tragedy that should happen to no man or no woman. His father was murdered, and it killed his competition. It killed his competitive fire. And I think a lot of us men can relate to that. You know, you lose a mother or a father, or you get rejected by a girl for the 50th time, and it just kills your competitive fire. You don't feel like doing certain things anymore, and you want to go shift your energy into something else. And that's what Michael Jordan did. He went to go play baseball for almost 2 years. And during the time that Michael Jordan was out, other teams in the East that felt like they would never get their chance to go to the NBA Finals now had a chance like never before. The New York Knicks, the Indiana Pacers, the Miami Heats, the Orlando Magic, teams like that in the East, they now had a chance to go to a place they hadn't gone before. Now, At this time period, it was like 1995. Michael Jordan had lost to a young Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway in the 1995 Eastern Conference semifinals. And it was because they wanted to go take on the Houston Rockets in the NBA Finals. And Michael lost because at this point in time in history, Michael Jordan was now 32, 33 years old, and he wasn't in his 20s anymore. And Michael Jordan realized that since he gotten older, he couldn't play or do things the same way that he used to. He had to change up the way that he played basketball. So a year later, Michael got back in the gym. Michael changed his number from 45 back to 23, and he returned to being the Michael Jordan that we're used to seeing on the basketball court. And finally, in the 1996-1997 NBA season, Michael Jordan did something that only a few players in NBA would do. In 96, they won like between 55 to like almost 60 games a season. Michael Jordan had hit game buzzer beaters. Michael Jordan put up 40 points in overtime games. And finally, they made it to the first round where they took out a Cleveland Cavaliers team. You know, second round, they took out them Pacers. Third round, they dismantled those New York Knicks in 6 games, not 7-6. And then finally, Michael advanced back to the NBA Finals. And it was against Sean Kemp, Gary Payton, and those Seattle Supersonics. And in this series, Gary Payton would trade shots back and forth with Michael Jordan. And we all know Michael doesn't give up. And in this series, Michael had to score 30-plus points in 4 games. And in the first game, the Bulls took it. Surprisingly, they took it. Second game, they managed to take that game as well, and then the Sonics won games 3 and 4, tying up the series. And then it ain't until game 5 the Bulls took it, and then you could see what happened in 6. They took game 6, and Michael walked away with a 4th championship. But however, in the 1997 NBA season would be far different from the one from before, when Michael was going to make the drive for 5 NBA championships. This was a different season. From the beginning of the season to the finals, they went undefeated in an NBA season. They had won a tear of 20 games in a row without a single loss. Something that had never happened before to the Bulls. Then they were 30-0. And then finally, I think when they tried to become 35-0 or 40-0, they got their first loss. Then they had their second loss. They had back-to-back losses. Then they tried to go on another winning streak. And then after that winning streak, they had like 50 wins. Then they had 5. They were like, all of a sudden, they were like 52 or 53 wins with 4 losses. All of a sudden, they got to like 60 wins. They had 7 losses. And then before we know it, by the time they got to like 8 or 9 losses, they were like 60-plus wins. And then they were, all of a sudden, there were 70 wins and 10 losses. And then all of a sudden, there were 71 and 10. Then there were 72 and 10. For the first time in NBA history, they saw something that they thought they would never see before. They had a record of 72 wins with 10 losses. And then went to the NBA playoffs. Again, they beat the Pacers. Again, they knocked off the New York Knicks. They took out the Magics. And they found themselves back in the NBA Finals once again. And this time it was against Karl Malone, John Stockton, and the Utah Jazz. And in this 1997 series, of course, Michael put up powerful numbers in Game 1s and 2. But in Game 3 or in Game 4, Michael Jordan suffered what we call a stomach virus, where he had a 100-plus temperature degree, fever, and a stomach virus. It turns out the night before, Michael Jordan was eating pizza, and someone decided to food poison the greatest basketball player to ever pick up a basketball and play this game of basketball. All of a sudden, he transforms into Superman. We had never seen Michael go on a war path. The man took the basketball, and it was like he was possessed by the gods. The man dropped 39 points, 38 to 39 points. The guy was slam dunking on everybody. The guy was hitting threes, making layups, free throws. The guy was stealing the ball, blocking shots. The guy was doing everything, and this guy was throwing up. Michael Jordan was dehydrated. His pupils was dilated. He looked like his eyes were rolling in the back of his head. And he played basketball as sick as a dog as he was. And he was one tough son of a bitch. See, in today's NBA, you would never catch basketball players that dehydrated, that skinny, with a fever, trying to make sure their team won in the playoff game. And Karl Malone had one of the best games of his career, but it got eclipsed by Michael Jordan's performance. Just a sick Michael Jordan playing against a powered, stacked Jazz team that was on the verge of not just tying up the series, but the Jazz had a chance to make the series lead 3-2 and have some luck on their side. And then, of course, he bounced back in Game 5 or 6 and won 5 NBA championships. And, of course, we all know 1998, that beautiful classic scene where Michael comes up, steals the basketball from Russell. Russell loses his balance. Karl Malone can't get there fast enough. John Stockton can't. You got to watch his fouls because he'll foul out the game. Michael gets that nice, perfect stance in 98 NBA Finals and drills that shot in, and he wins his 6th and final NBA championship. And it has to make you scratch your head and wonder that had Michael not retired in 98 going into the 1999 NBA season, he probably could have won, instead of 6, he probably could have won 7 NBA championships because he had the potential to take it further beyond what anyone suspected. And this Bulls team was dangerous because you had Michael Jordan, you had Scottie Pippen, you had Horace Grant, you had they didn't have Bill Paxton no more, so they had Steve Kerr, you had Dennis Rodman. So you had a lot of these players, including the guy that was on Orlando and then he came back to the Bulls, Horace and Grant, but there was another player that was also on the Orlando Magic who also ended up being traded to the Bulls. So once this team did what they did, Michael had won another title. Now, he didn't get NBA MVP in 98. They gave it to Karl Malone. But Michael did win Finals NBA MVP. And you see, the thing about this is the stuff of legends of Michael Jordan. Now, during the time of Michael winning titles, there was a young, up-and-coming basketball player that came in the 96, or should I say 97 or 98 NBA draft, and that basketball player was by the name of Vince Carter. Another player that reminded us of Michael Jordan, who was in the first round and was selected at the fifth pick in the NBA draft and was selected by the Toronto Raptors. Now, like Michael Jordan, Vince Carter was 6'6". Like Michael Jordan, he was bald. Like Michael Jordan, he could do a lot of athletic things that the average basketball player was not built for. He could score 20 points in 4 quarters. He could play 45 minutes. He could play 50 minutes. Vince Carter could slam dunk from half court. As athletic as Vince's insanity was, he could slam dunk on one person, 2 people. Hell, it don't matter, Vince. I'll slam on the whole entire basketball team. He could hit 3-pointers from half court. The guy could score 25, 35, 45 points on a night. And on his super best night, Vince Carter could drop 50 points on you. And he was so good at being 6'6", 225 pounds, that the guy was a small forward and a shooting guard. That's how good he was. He could play 2 different positions. In fact, when the Toronto Raptors became an NBA team in 1995, this team had no identity. And it wasn't until Vince Carter showed up that he became this team's franchise, this team's offense. And of course, he was so resilient that he talked the NBA to letting his cousin Tracy McGrady be on the same basketball team. Not that they needed Tracy McGrady, because most of the time he sat the bench and Vince Carter got all the shine and all the credit. But this team was well nice put together. They had Antonio Daniels, Antonio McDyess. They had Vince Carter. I can't remember who the point guard was, but they had some players on this team. And this team was a force to be reckoned with in the East. Since Michael had retired and Vince had came in, a lot of people did the same thing that they did to Grant Hill, they did to Vince Carter. You know that old saying in Highlander, there can only be one? Well, a lot of people started throwing in all these comparisons to Vince Carter to Michael Jordan. Vince Carter goes down with a knee injury in the 2000 to 2001 NBA season. They try to compare it to Michael Jordan's knee injury. Like, it was just insane. It's like, come on now. They may play the same style, but they're not the same basketball player. And they were doing it. And then when Vince Carter in 2001 had a chance to do something that no one had never done before, all he had to do was knock off Allen Iverson and the 76ers. That's what his most best playoff game to this day is known for. Him putting up 40-plus points against Allen Iverson in a 7-game series. And he almost beat Allen Iverson by one shot. You know how he had the ball and the ball ricochet off and Allen Iverson only survived because had Vince Carter's three not went in? Because if Vince Carter could send the game into a second overtime, he would have beaten Allen Iverson and the 76ers. And instead of seeing the Sixers advance to the third round of the Eastern Conference semifinals and take on a young Ray Allen and those Milwaukee Bucks, we would have saw a different result. We would have seen Vince Carter and those Toronto Raptors taking on a young Ray Allen and the Milwaukee Bucks in a 7-game series. And Vince probably would have won that series and might have made it to the finals. So, I mean, again, I still think Ray Allen might have had a shot, but one of those would have went to the finals if not Allen Iverson and the 76ers. They try to compare his bad ricochet shot to Michael Jordan's shot in the 1995-1996 season when Michael took on Reggie Miller. Remember when I said in that Reggie Miller video where Reggie Miller hit a three-pointer and in less than 4/10 of a second, Reggie Miller comes back and hit another three-pointer after he just hit 1 second ago. And then Michael comes back at the other end and he goes for a three. And you hear the announcer, I'll do it again. It rimmed out. It rimmed out. It's 2-2. Unbelievable. Guess what? They try to compare Michael Jordan's bad shot to Vince Carter's. Again, they were trying to make Vince Carter become something that he was not. Vince Carter went back to school to go get some college degree, and the team blamed Vince Carter for the distraction of that, because to them, they wanted him to be focused on basketball and not his college career. Because Vince Carter was looking at the long term that when I'm finished with basketball, I need to have a fallback plan, and no one in the NBA understood that at all. Clearly, they didn't. And the 2002 NBA season, Vince Carter bounced back, but by this time, he had knee injuries. And it wasn't until 2003 that they broke up the players on the Toronto Raptors, and he saw himself in the 2004-2005, he saw himself traded away to the Orlando Magics, which, again, he was on a team where his cousin, Tracy McGrady, had just left. It's funny how that happened. Had Tracy McGrady stayed long enough and got reunited with his cousin, who knows what could have happened. But he was there with a young Dwight Howard, so I don't know. By that point, Dwight Howard was the star, and Vince Carter seemed to be kind of on the verge of being past his prime at this point. Then he gets traded to the Phoenix Suns, which, you know, that was a horrible fit. I don't know how could they have, done that. Again, he seemed to be on a squad where, again, he had knee injuries, so he wasn't no help to Amir Stoudemire and Sean Marion and Steve Nash, had he been healthy, they probably would have knocked off the Spurs, the Mavericks, the Houston Rockets. They probably would have knocked the team off. Then he ended up with the Dallas Mavericks. And again, it seemed like had he stayed there long enough, he probably could have won at least one NBA championship in his career had he stayed on the team long enough. And he finds himself with the Memphis Grizzlies. Which, again, had he stayed on the team long enough for them to make some trades, who knows what could have happened. He looks good when he was with the Grizzlies. You know, he looked like his old self. It looked like he got himself back into his prime. That's why they call himself half man, half amazing. Then he gets sent to the Sacramento Kings, and it just looks terrible. And then he gets to the Atlanta Hawks. And you scratch your head and you say, this guy's been in the NBA for like 16 seasons. It's his 17th NBA season. He's 37 going on 38 years old. And you're like, you know that story where for 10 years or 15 years you keep chasing this one woman, and no matter what you say, no matter what you do, this woman will never give you the phone number. And then finally, in the twilight of that person's career, they all of a sudden see the error in their ways and decide to give you a chance. But by this point, you look at Vince Carter and you just feel bad for the guy. I mean, from the beginning of his basketball career to the end of his basketball career, you just feel bad for the guy. The guy never really quite got to the same level that he expected to get to. He won the slam dunk contest. He is remembered for having great games against players like his cousin Tracy McGrady, Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant. He's remembered for that, but what he's also mostly remembered for is being compared to Michael Jordan and not actually achieving the same level of success as Michael Jordan. And it hurts because people always look at him and go, you could have been the very next one. And they put so much pressure on him in Toronto to carry that flagship. And when he got traded and he thought the pressure was off, again, they put the pressure back on him. Even when he was with New Jersey, let's not forget he did play for New Jersey too. Even at one point when he was with New Jersey, again, some people still thought this guy could still do it. So to me, I would say after his 17th season, try to just retire. Because there's nothing left for him to do. You're way past your prime and it's like over. So without question, Michael Jordan's better than Vince Carter. And this should be like served as a life lesson. There's only one Michael Jordan. And when people keep trying to compare Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, when they keep trying to take players like that and compare them to Michael Jordan, there is no comparison. You're comparing them to a guy who's won 6 NBA championships, 6 NBA Finals MVP, 5 NBA MVPs. He's got 2 statues. He's been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Hold on. Sorry about that, people. You're comparing him to a basketball player like that. And he's undefeated in the NBA Finals, 2 3-peats. You can't compare these players to Michael Jordan because there is no comparison. And even Ray Allen and Reggie Miller be the first 2 to tell you, you can't compare them to Michael Jordan. There is no comparison. So, yeah, I made this video because I promised you I would make a video that would sound more completed than the last one. Until then, peace.